Thank you guys for coming tonight. This is a special edition of the Meetup group because I think there's something going on in the Amazon world that people need to focus on. There's been a huge amount of Facebook posts about liability insurance, and I think that's just the tip of the iceberg of what people are starting to realize they need to have in terms of, protecting themselves and their business and just being in the right place as a business. Chakra, you guys all know, understands the setting up the corporation. So we're going to ask him some questions tonight. I have my good friend, Ashlin Hadden from Ashlin Insurance, who is an absolute expert in everything insurance. So she's going to give us some ideas too about the things that you need to protect yourself. I know a lot of people think that insurance is an expense, but it's really much more than that. It's it's a peace of mind. It's a thing that you need to have, and all these other different things. If you want to be a real, if you want to grow up and be a real boy someday, you have to have the things that make your business solid. I'm always talking to people about building saleable assets. One of those assets is being, having your business insurance foundation right. So let's start with, one of the things that's been going on with Amazon is we're getting safety documentation requests, and we're getting all these performance notifications, but they're not, you did a bad variation. They're like, I don't know if your product is new. You need to prove it to me. And all these things are indicative of something going on. So Ashlin, if you could sort of give us like the 10,000 foot level of what the heck Amazon, it's not about me, it's about them. So what's their thing? What are they doing?
Yeah, good luck trying to figure that out. But the big thing is that Amazon is getting sued over and over again. Every week I'm getting another notification that Amazon is in another lawsuit. And they are just sick and tired of, quote, taking the blame for what third-party sellers are on their platform. They're trying to say, hey, I am not responsible for this anymore. You're the third-party seller. You're selecting where you're sourcing from. You need to be responsible for what you're putting on our platform. So they're asking for those safety documents. They want to make sure that what you're getting from manufacturers does meet those safety standards. So 10,000 foot view, Amazon's sick and tired of you guys putting crappy stuff on their platform. That's the 10,000 foot view.
I agree with you. I think though too that they want to. So if you walk back to the sales tax fiasco, at the end of the day, Amazon, let's face it, what's good for Amazon is Amazon. What's bad for Amazon is ours. Right. So the sales tax was our responsibility, and ultimately they agreed to collect it or remit it for us, but they never did say it was their responsibility. They just, decided that's the way they were going to handle it because they were in the best position, and they get paid from us for every single transaction. So it's kind of another revenue source for them in a way, because they can do one mass, and California's never going to go, can you please look up Barbara's account and see if she paid the proper amount? They're just going, give me the money.
Right. So, show me that money.
So that's one thing, is those safety documentations. I mean, let's talk really, I want to step back from Amazon and just talk about how a business operates. What do you need? And I'm going to give Chakra a chance to do this, but what's your 4 things you need, or 5, whatever it is, the top 5 things you need from an insurance perspective if you're operating a business, whether it's from your house or the warehouse or whatever.
You want Chakra to start? And then
I'll start with you, and we'll start with let's Chakra answer. What are the first things?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, we just talked about insurance. That's number, be up there in the top 5. But, firstly, a lot of people just think of it as a hobby, right? Like, I don't know if I'm going to make $1,000. I want to start with $500. And you talked to a lot of these big sellers today. They all started like that, right? So they all put, and what they do is they're like, oh, I'm going to put some stuff on there and see if it works. which means they're just using their social security number. There's no company, there's no corporation, no LLC, nothing to really separate them from the business. Even though they call themselves a business, they're just a person, right? So that is the first step. You need to have some kind of separation between you, Mr., Mrs. Joe, from the business itself. Just having a name doesn't make it a business. You need to have registration in the state. You need to have, an EIN from the federal government. And then, that, okay, it's an LLC or an S Corp. Then it is a real business. And then you, even if you don't have a lot of sales, it's just worth having that, because like Barbara, like you were saying, one bad product, one small thing that could just put your entire life savings at risk because somebody could sue you.
Right, and then somebody else is living in your house. Do you know the show Schitt's Creek?
Yes.
Yes. They had the whole David. I just saw that. Somebody posted in a group. I think it was Eddie. About the father was talking to him, like, why are there sheets in here and face and skin cleaning products and skincare? And he says, well, it's a write-off. David says it's a write-off. And he says, you can't write off stuff that you do for personal use. And Chakra, that's piercing. Isn't that the definition of piercing the corporate veil, when there's no difference between what's for the business and what's for you? Like, I feel like a lot of Amazon sellers are taking these deals that they get, whether it's RA or wholesale, and bringing it on home, or giving. What do you think about that? Like,
so there's no corporate veil to pierce. So it's just, they're making it too easy. Good lawyers can find a way around it, right? If the fees or stakes are high enough, but not even having that first line of defense, right? Like, there's no guarantee having an LLC will protect you from everything. But at least don't make it so easy. Don't invite people to come and attack you, right? I mean, most of them will get away with it, may not, if you're lucky enough, but, it's like the old Amazon coupon thing, right? It would go fine 90% of the time, but you don't want to be the 10% where, it's just easy for somebody to attack you for, small things. And that, when the season is hot and the product is hot, there's always somebody complaining. We see that in some spaces more than others, but so you just don't want to be that person who's just caught flat-footed, without any kind of protection for yourself.
And also, we hear a lot of customers that are like, well, I have an LLC, so I don't need insurance. Yes. Can you pick up the phone and dial your LLC and say, hey, LLC, I'm in a lawsuit. Can you come defend me? I agree with Chakra that you absolutely need to have some type of business entity, but that doesn't mean that because you have that business entity that you can neglect having insurance.
That's correct.
Both. Like you said, don't make it so easy, but give yourself some credit. Have somebody to call when you are in trouble, because your LLC is not going to defend you in that lawsuit.
Right.
Yeah. And then my pet peeve, and it's a little bit off topic, but people go out and register in Wyoming or someplace and they have no ties there. That's not going to help you at all, guys. Like, it doesn't matter. You're in home state. End of the day, you're still going to be in your home state. So that's where you should register 99% of the time, unless you're a big business with a C Corp. That's completely different.
And then you're going to go to Delaware.
Yep.
So that's like a lot of these things I agonize, because when I was first starting to do this, I didn't even know. It's like, there's so much, it's so costly when you're not yet making any money. I know that my liability insurance has a level, and then the more I sell, the more the premiums go up, sort of like average across,
Yep.
Standard insurance. I guess the first question I'm trying to remember back in the day, how much, and it doesn't even matter. I know this is a stupid question because it depends on what you're selling. If you're selling everything, like let's take our little RA seller, and he's getting sneakers, and he's getting, toothpaste, and he's getting, groceries, and he's reselling it. What can that person expect? And you can tell me it's state dependent. I don't know if that's the case, what can a person expect in terms of insurance cost, and what kind of insurance should they have? Right? Do you need, do you need building insurance if you're in your house for your business? Like,
there's a lot of things that you need.
Yeah, like that's a big question.
Yeah, but starting out, the biggest thing that you need is you've got to follow your terms of service. And your terms of service does say that you need a liability policy, and we'll break that down a little bit later if you want. That's what's required. Now, if you're just an RA seller selling other items, as long as you're under that $250,000 a year mark, your policy should be no more than about $500-ish a year. So it's really, really inexpensive. If you're just RA, OA, and wholesale, we have companies that allow you to pay it monthly to try to help with those expenses. So it's not like we're going to come up and say, hey, you need $500 right now, or we're never going to give you a policy. Try to work with you. Now, if you're private label, that's a totally different situation. Some of those high-risk policies do require you to pay in full, but those are going to be your high-risk things. Your high-risk items on the body, in the body, for a child, or for a pet. We like our kids and our pets. Don't know why. But we do a lot over that. And then, of course, anything that's going on the body, your beauty products, your skincare, your makeup, that kind of stuff, and anything in the body, your food, your supplements, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're selling anything in that realm, that's a private label, that's potentially going to be your high risk where you might not be able to do a monthly payment. The other big thing you need to worry about starting new is your inventory. Guys, I can't stress this enough. Your personal business, or your personal stuff is your personal stuff. Your business is your business. Your personal homeowner's insurance is not going to pay for the 50,000 toothbrushes you have in your basement. And you can lie to them and say, I like a new toothbrush every single day. They're going to do their business, and they're not going to give it to you. Personal is personal, business and business. If you want to be a business, act like a business, okay? Don't just assume that your personal auto or your personal home insurance is going to pay for all of your inventory if you have a house fire. They will not. Have coverage for your inventory. If it's at home, if it's in your basement, if it's in your garage, if it's at a 3PL, if it's anywhere except in Amazon's possession, you should have insurance for that.
Well, that's a good point, because a lot of people think that it's at a 3PL, that the insurance of the 3PL covers it. But how do you know what they have?
Correct. And I have over 200 3PLs insured myself, and only 2 of them have coverage for their products. So ask the question, call your 3PL and say, hey, do you have coverage for my inventory when it's in your care, custody, and control? If they say great, say prove it. Send me a certificate of insurance proving it. Don't just take their word for it. They might think that they have it and don't. It might not be that they're misleading you on purpose. They might actually think that. But don't just take their word for it. Get a certificate from their insurance company.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think a lot of people assume a lot.
Exactly. And that's why we're in this situation with people not having what they should have.
Yeah, I got
actually, sorry. So if I, just to follow up on that, right? Like if I get an insurance certificate from the 3PL, would it say specifically, or do I need to go back and dig in the weeds that, the stuff that they're storing is covered or not?
It would have care, custody, and control of other people's property is
That's the language.
Per word what it would say.
Right.
And if you guys have any questions, any of your listeners have questions, they get their certificate and they're like, I'm not sure. Send it to me. I would be glad to say, nope, absolutely not. You need something better. Or yeah, this looks fine. So feel free to reach out to me too. I'm not here just for my customers. I'm here for all the e-com sellers. So don't ever hesitate to reach out if you have any questions on the legitimacy of a certificate, or even if you have a current policy and you don't know if you've got the right stuff, reach out to me and I will tell you, yeah, you do, or no, you don't.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. And we'll put all your contact information. It will be at the bottom of the video.
Smoke signals work best.
Huh?
I said smoke signals.
Yeah, smoke signals. I'll probably edit the video and put it on the video from time to time or at the end, but definitely. So that's one thing. I want to talk about the elephant in the room because the quote unquote terms of service, not quote unquote, it's real. But nobody ever reads it because, let's face it, it's long and it's confusing and probably it's not all up to date all the time. But everybody just got, I didn't get an email, and I think that's because I've submitted my liability insurance last year, so they're not looking for it, and we just submitted it for this coming year. What is the deal with that? And one of my personal questions is like, why is there a threshold? Why wouldn't Amazon, answer first, what is the deal with the liability insurance and how much trouble are you going to be in? And what are they going to do to you and blah, blah, blah. Because if they're not going to do anything to you, nobody's going to go out and fight us. And with like most of Amazon's rules, there's terms of services and there's terms of service that they enforce.
Right.
And then why do they have a threshold? Why do they not care about anybody under it?
So the big elephant in the room is that lots and lots of sellers got emails stating that you have to have, they're going to start enforcing the general liability policy. Now, it's been part of the terms of service for the last 5 years that I've been in this industry. But like Barbara said, they're not enforcing it. They're saying it's there, but they're not checking it. So now they came out and said, anyone who is selling $10,000 a month consecutively for 3 months, they're going to start enforcing it. They didn't say why or anything like that, but through our insurance industry, we figured there's over 5 million people who are selling on Amazon the last I checked. And they just physically cannot start checking 5 million people. So I think that they just started this threshold to say, hey, these are the people who are actually putting a lot of products into the hands of the consumers.
Okay.
The more products you put into the hands of the consumers, the more risk that they have. So we think they picked a mark to start with, and that's the 3 months of 10,000 consecutive sales. Once they get through that, I truly believe they are going to require everyone to start checking everyone. It's required. You should have it. If you don't have it, suspended. In the letter, it does state that you could be suspended for not submitting it. We know Amazon likes to suspend people for stupid stuff, so there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to start suspending people. We'll find out in 30 days, right?
Yeah. Probably with the safety certificates, they don't ever take them down as long as you submit something.
Right.
I'm still working on 18 from September that they won't accept for no reason. But anyway.
And there's all kinds of rules in the terms of service on what it needs to say, how it needs to be worded, where it needs to go. So you need
very specifically that Amazon is
listed as the name insured. Yeah. So make sure that you have an agent who knows what's required. If you tell your agent, hey, I sell FBA, and they don't know what that means, run the other way. Knows what you know, so they can make sure that they get them what they need to get and you don't get suspended.
Right. Yeah. That's that. At least they have a leg. At least they told you have a leg to stand on. So if you get suspended for that, it's your own damn fault. But
exactly.
A lot of these things that happen, a lot of the decisions I make, a lot of the directions I go in are because, like, I won't carry X anymore, whatever that product is, because it was we had a skin cream for a wholesaler, and every 3 months somebody complained it gave them a rash. Well, okay. That's going to happen, hundreds of these products sold. And I finally said, you know what? I just don't want that email from Amazon for the 4th time anymore. I don't want that in my account. I don't want to sell that anymore. I'm just done with it. It was good money. But am I thinking like my, FOA, fear of Amazon, and all the things that can happen. And even though my insurance covered and all that stuff, and this liability insurance is, you don't want to mess around with things like that, it's not that much money, especially if you took it and you said, okay, mine's expensive because I sell toys, so I have like surplus insurance. But even taking that and dividing it by the toys, it's like a penny a toy that I sell.
Right.
Right.
And if you were to get sued, well, we can talk about that first. You don't even have to do anything wrong to be sued, to be listed in.
They get everybody.
To say that you've done something wrong, or you have to be in the chain of command. So you don't have to do anything wrong to be pulled into a lawsuit. Then, if you don't have insurance, you're talking $400 to maybe $600 an hour for a attorney to defend you. So for a policy for $500 to $600, that's 1 hour of an attorney's time. It is totally worth it. Totally worth it. Because we all know insurance companies don't like to pay. Okay. As an insurance provider, I know insurance companies don't like to pay. But knowing that, they have the best darn attorneys on staff to get you out of a lawsuit. So you know that if you have an insurance policy, they're going to do whatever they can to get your name out of there and let you move on with your life.
Now, it's interesting too. Like I did a little research before tonight to see Amazon's getting sued all the time, but in the last year there were 2 lawsuits. One last February, I forget what state that was in, and then one more recently in August in California, where they held that Amazon is in fact liable for the sales of the products it sells and we sell. So that, I think that was part of the thing that raised their quote unquote game, is like all of a sudden I got safety, data certificates in mass. And, they didn't put a lot of resource behind it because it's kind of a mess, but, I'm
that's why they want to be listed as an additional insured on your policy.
Exactly.
So if Amazon is listed, then your policy kicks in and your policy has to be Amazon now. So they're getting
that's my policy and your policy.
Exactly. Now you've got 2 people fighting to pay these claims.
And I'm, sorry, go ahead, Chakra.
Now, one thing I was going to say is, we're talking about $500,000, whatever it is, right? Just think about all the money we spend on software, right? Like, Helium is $97. You can add all the softwares and this would be a fraction of that. And think about all the softwares you don't even use that you buy and you forget that gets charged every month, right? So, there is money available if you read, and it's important. So.
We just settled a claim a couple of months ago. The lady was selling like a bar that you put in the door frame and you have like handles and you kind of like pull down and it helps work on your triceps or whatever. I don't work out, obviously.
Exercise.
But whatever that was, she had videos in her packaging on how to install it correctly, YouTube's, warning labels, all of these safety requirements, all of this stuff. It says, this is how you're supposed to install it. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how to check it. Here's how to maintain it. Top to bottom that you could ever think that this person would need to CYA.
Totally idiot proof until we met the idiot.
Until you met the idiot. So this guy ends up using it, snaps back, hits him in the eye. Now he's claiming that he can't see, he can't work, he can't do anything for the rest of his life. He was 32 years old. It wasn't even her product. It wasn't private label. It was just RA. And she got it from China. They couldn't find the manufacturer.
Boy.
So they ended up settling over $600,000. I don't remember the exact amount. I had this check and we did this presentation, but it was over $600,000. And she did everything correctly. And if we wouldn't have the policy, like we talked on the phone and she's like, it would have bankrupted me. I don't have $600,000 in the bank. I'm a small RA seller. I would have to sell my car. I'd have to turn over my 401k. And her policy was $1,300 a year. $1,300 a year, and we paid out over $600,000.
Wow.
So just because you're RA, OA wholesale, guys, doesn't mean you can't be pulled into a lawsuit. They will pull you in so fast, it's unbelievable.
There is a little silver lining to all of this. The harder, and we were talking about this before we turned the recording on, but all these things, like Amazon opened the barn doors and let everybody in to start selling and didn't vet anybody to see if they knew what it was to sell. Like, this is the insurance you need to have, this kind of business you need to have. It's just like, go ahead, sell some stuff. This is great. We'll have everything. And over time, either Amazon grew up or decided that maybe they should start paying attention to it, or they knew all along. I don't know. It's probably they knew all along, but they were like, we're new, this internet thing, nobody knows. But what's happening is and I feel bad because I think nobody reads, like we said, nobody reads the terms of service. It's a lot of fine print. It's a lot of gobbledygook. And what good is a law, terms of service, if nobody enforces it, right? I'm not going to worry about like, oh, they say I can't do that, but look, it's all over the website. They don't do anything about it. So, but the silver lining being is as Amazon grows up and as sellers are forced to grow up, the level of competition gets steeper. Your professional sellers, I feel bad because ultimately small time sellers and hobby sellers are going to get pushed out of it because it's just going to be too complicated for people to do and not worth their time maybe. But from a professional seller perspective that I am, this is kind of great because I've been paying for this insurance for years and my competitors haven't. I've been paying for a warehouse and my competitors haven't. And the guy that's, dropping the price down on a wholesale product against me. And I'm like, I've got rent to pay. I've got insurance. He doesn't have any of those, but now he does. So,
right.
Yay.
And I think it's going to force some of these foreign sellers who have 500 accounts off the platform. So you're not going to have as much competition. If they have 500 accounts, they're going to have 500 certificates of insurance.
Right,
so
right.
Unless they can prove that they have insurance, it's going to force some of those bad apples off the platform, which I think is probably good.
Or maybe they'll have 8,000 under the limit accounts. I don't know.
Well, hopefully they get rid of, in a couple of years, they get rid of that 10,000 for 3 months and everybody on there.
Good. I hope so.
Ashley, so one quick follow-up when you said that. So a lot of, American sellers also, have 2 accounts, 3 accounts, right? Depending on what they sell. So are you saying that everyone should have, like if you have 2 accounts, are you supposed to carry 2 insurances?
Good question. Yes. So insurance only covers your business. It covers all of your business.
Okay.
You're on Amazon, eBay, Wayfair, Jet, all of these different platforms under one business entity, you need one policy. But if you open a second account and you open a separate business entity, that business entity needs to be insured separately.
Absolutely.
It will not cross over to that other business entity unless your CPA has set up your business structure where you have like a mother LLC and you've got the little baby LLCs underneath it, then potentially you could still have the one policy. But separate EIN, separate LLC, separate business entities need a separate policy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring out because, I don't want people to freak out. A lot of people have one entity and they may get 2 different accounts, 3 different accounts. So I didn't want people to freak out. As long as it's under one umbrella.
Figure out how you do your taxes. If it funnels up to one, then you just have the one policy. If you file 14 different tax returns, you need policy.
Taxes is good timing because I'm just about to open up a new EIN and maybe I'm not. So I might be Chakra might have to talk about whatever a baby.
Maybe talk to your tax advisor first.
So what's the other thing? So we've got this. I'm gonna try to guess into. I can't say the word project. I'm thinking of procrastinate. That is not the right word. Like crystal ball. What else do you think they're gonna do? Looking at this, they've got obviously terms of service. That's not like a really big shock. That always existed. But these safety data certificates came out of in my opinion, came out of the blue. They weren't there before. All these, put your invoices in to prove to me that you really got this from a legitimate source weren't there before. You had to show you used to have to show a sales receipt, right? I was thinking about this today. I'm like, what else? I guess the sky's the limit, but what do you think if you were just it's coming up?
They're going to try to figure out every way to get out of a lawsuit possible. Starting with your certificates, making sure your safety standards, making sure you have insurance, And then I think we're going to see a heck of a lot more suspensions. I think if you get bad reviews for something like in the beauty and you're saying, hey, I had a night cream and my nose fell off, they're going to just pull it. I don't think you're going to get as many chances to fix your mistakes. I don't think you're going to be able to hire the suspension specialist to get you back on. I think they're going to say, hey, you screwed up. This product's got to go or you got to go.
True. They cut a lot of ASINs out. I mean, we've been able to reinstate them because, hey, show this that they're new and blah, 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 blah. But, I finally cut this one product because it was every 4 or 5 months I was getting a performance notification because someone got a rash from a skin product. It cures rashes. So, maybe they were allergic to it or whatever. But that's true. So that could happen.
I just don't think they're going to give you as many chances anymore. They just...
Right, after you do 2 or 3 of those, you don't pick good products to buy. Which reminds me, everybody needs a backup plan. What was the other thing I was thinking? Diversify. Yeah. And tomorrow, actually, we're doing another one tomorrow night about diversification. We're interviewing Travis Ross. Via Cifuentes about print on demand. So it's going to be
very cool.
A new diversification.
I love Travis.
But, I do know that they're doing one more thing that they're doing that comes to mind is they're validating sellers.
Yeah.
And, they haven't come and validated me. I've been there for, 11 years, 12 years. This will be the 12th year. So they're validating people, new sellers, but I got a feeling that they're going to validate everybody. And I always said this. I said, don't give me a hard time. Don't be harassing me about all this stuff. Come see that I'm a real boy, like I'm a real business, and look that I have a warehouse, and look that I have proper prep procedures and all those other things.
But they can't when there's 5 million of you. If it's down to a couple million of you, maybe they could. But 5, 6, 7 million people, there's no way they're going to be able to.
They can do it.
Validate your certificate.
Google Maps. They could do it with Google Maps.
So, Barbara, I have a quick thing to add on that. So I know a new seller who applied, and how Google sends you a code to your address. Yeah. They're doing that now, and they're actually setting up Zoom calls, 20-minute Zoom calls to make sure you're a real person before they'll let you open an account. So.
Wow.
Cool with that. I mean, I'm not a seller, but I think that's great. Make sure that these aren't fake people making 500 accounts.
Yeah, shipping empty boxes.
Right.
So, what would you advise people?
Act like a real business.
Act like a real business. Yeah, grow up and be a real. If you want to be a real boy.
Be a real boy. I love that. Real boy.
Yeah, I think I saw Bob's Furniture commercial the other day. That's stuck in my head. Did you see that one? The little puppet, and anyway, it was cute. And he wants to be. They're on this. Pinocchio's being on the stage, and he goes to see he gets great deals for people, so he goes to see his vendors' kids play. But he's a little puppet, little wooden puppet in the commercial. Anyway, it must be a regional commercial. Never mind.
It's a Jersey one, I think.
Only Jersey. So. Let me think, what else? I feel like there's other things that you guys should be telling people to be aware of, to be concerned with. Obviously, prep and expiration dates. I don't know, but is there other things that you think that from a general business perspective that even an experienced seller should be thinking about beyond what's immediately required? Maybe E-Man insurance or and Chakra, we're going to talk about whether I want to interview you on whether to be an LLC or an S corp or all that stuff, because it drives me crazy as to what that should be.
That should be a great one. Separate one. But,
yeah, a separate one. That's
mess. Yeah.
Because there's
another thing that full-time tenured sellers forget too is warning labels. I know I talked about it doesn't stop you from getting pulled into a lawsuit, but those warning labels. I know it sounds stupid, but you remember that McDonald's?
Yeah.
The lady dropped the coffee in her lap and it ended up breaking, and now they have to say warning hot coffee. And it means it sounds so stupid to us because it's coffee. It's but stupid people do stupid things all the time. So think about what your products can be used for, and that's the way your products shouldn't be used for, but people can use them. And for an example, we had a client who did those like baby Bjorns, so like you put on your body and you hold the child. And she's like, Ashlin, it's just a yard of fabric. And I was like, I understand that it's just a yard of fabric, but that fabric is responsible for holding a 12-pound child 5 feet off the ground. What if the Velcro breaks? What if
in motion
the baby falls out? All of these things that could happen that we don't think should happen, but could happen. So think about that. We had a client that was doing like a mat for the garage that you can kind of stand on and whatever. And the carrier came back and was like, what if they got oil on that mat and slipped and fall? Like, we as the insurance agents didn't think about that. I was like, it's just rubber. It's all it is. It's just rubber. And then they came back with all of these other things that it could have been used for that we forget about. So stop thinking like a smart business owner and think like a dumb consumer and what people could do with your products that they shouldn't do with your products. And that's going to make you start thinking how important insurance is and the things that people could do to get harmed on. And I'll give one more horror story because everybody likes the horror stories. It's like Yeti cups that everybody carries. You know, to me, it was okay. I didn't see any issue with it until you put a metal straw into your Yeti cup. A lot of claims with impairment of the metal straws in the Yeti cups. They're not breaking, they're metal. And we've seen them where it impaled the eye. We've seen it where people have gone through the esophagus and all of these things that we wouldn't think that a straw should be used for. We've even seen it up the nose, like someone tripped and it went up their nose. And
oh boy.
So it's absolutely crazy when you start looking at a product and what potentially could happen instead of just what it's typically used for.
Exactly. Someone was posting that their cup says they have paper cups, and on the bottom it says do not for microwave. And he's like, why? I always microwave in this cup, reheat my coffee or whatever. It says not for microwave. And he goes, I bet it's that McDonald's thing that they don't want it to be so hot that, just put cold liquids in here. That's all it's good for.
Right.
I have one more question to ask you. And before I do, I want to give you both a chance if there's anything that you want to add. And then I want to ask you this one question. It's for Ashlin specifically.
Okay, go Chakra. I've been talking a lot.
No, that's good. It was very educational. Thank you. So one thing I want to add is, before you make decisions on which type of entity, don't just read a blog, just talk to an accountant, talk to a lawyer, anybody who's your advisor. Just make sure that it makes sense for your specific situation. A lot of times accountants we give advice on very general stuff, right? It's applicable to majority of people, but not everyone. So just keep that in mind. It's not that expensive to, get on the phone with somebody for half an hour, even if they charge. A lot of times, you don't even charge, right? You just talk. So just don't get advice from Reddit.
Don't get advice from
unless you want to get GameStop, then it's perfectly okay. And Chakra would be the person you'd want to ask these things for, or your CPA or whatever. But yeah, Ashlin. Uh-oh, did we freeze? Or did I freeze?
No, but can you hear me?
I have one question left. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hit me with your last question.
I can hear you. Yes.
Great. You want to hit me with your last question?
Oh, my last question is, okay, so the letter came out from Amazon, went to potentially thousands of sellers. We don't know how many. How many applications did you get from that letter?
In the first 5 days since the letters went out, we got over 400 applications.
Wow.
That's effective email marketing, I would say.
It's like, help, what is this? Save me.
And we've been preparing for this for a long time. So we've gotten an automation system, we've processes in place. But we didn't plan on so many private label people. So
oh, wow.
Because we have to send that out to market, where the RA, OA, and wholesale we can quote in-house within a couple of hours. We can have a quote and email out. But private label is all manual. We have to physically type what you type into an application, send it out. We usually send it out to carriers, but we send it out to the top couple of carriers that we know is good in your category. So if you're selling private label baby, we know what carriers are the best priced in the private label baby. We send it to the couple of those. So we just weren't prepared for how many more private label people. So that is taking a little bit longer. But my team has been working around the clock. I'm paying a lot of overtime.
It'll be all worth it.
But, and then my whole thing was like, take your time. We want to make sure that we do this the right way. Our goal from the beginning was to love our customers through insurance and to protect their assets. And I said, we don't do it right, then we're not doing right by our customers. So we are taking the time to make sure that we've got the right quotes in place for everybody.
Oh, perfect. All right. That was my last question. So if you guys, I'll give you one more chance if there's anything that we missed, any question I should have asked that I didn't ask, or anything you didn't do. Perfect. All right. Then I think I will put all the details to contact both Chakra and Ashlin on either business entity, insurance, general life questions. Ashlin also does therapy on the side. No, she doesn't.
I charge extra for that.
No that's the real business.
Thank you so much. I know you're super, super busy. And I even offered to like let it go, but you're like, no, they need this information now. We have to get it now.
We do.
One thing can I add? Like, Ashlin, where can people find you? I guess that's,
where can they find me?
Yes.
Biggest place, I'm on Facebook all the time. Ashlin D. Hadden is my personal page. That's where everybody messages me at. We do have a Facebook page, Ashlin Hadden Insurance, Ecom Insurance. You can always email me, service@Ashlin Hadden Insurance. But don't ever hesitate to reach out to me on Facebook. Friend me on Facebook. Shoot me a message. Questions anytime. Anytime.
Oh,
I have sellers
that's
across.
Right. You also have a discount, and we'll put that down there too with all the details.
Yes. We have a 50% coupon code for any agency fee.
Perfect.
I mentioned this.
I will put it. Yeah, I'll put it in the down. Yeah, or the up or the left. Or I'll put it on a scroll going across the video when we edit this. Right. Thank you again so much.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Someday we'll see each other in person again.
I know. I hope so. Bye.